History remembers Ashraf Pahlavi as the Shah's glamorous twin, but behind closed doors, she brokered the coup, backed by the CIA, that toppled Iran's democracy in 1953, trading a mink coat and a moment of persuasion for the future of a nation. Her choice set the stage for revolution, tragedy, and the battle that still rages on Iran's streets today. So why did one woman hold the fate of millions in her hands? Ashraf Pahlavi was born in Tehran on October 26, 1919, just 5 hours after her twin brother, Mohammad Reza. Their father, Reza Shah, had risen from military commander to founder of a new dynasty, ruling with the certainty of a man determined to drag Iran into the 20th century. In the marble halls of the palace, one child was groomed for the crown while the other watched from the shadows. Ashraf later wrote that she always felt like an outsider, the twin whose ambitions were dismissed because she was born a girl. Yet, she inherited her father's iron will. Reza Shah demanded obedience not only from his ministers, but from his children. He believed Iran's future depended on breaking the old order, and he began with his own family. In 1936, at a graduation ceremony in Tehran, Ashraf, her mother, and her sister appeared unveiled in public for the first time. The moment was orchestrated by Reza Shah himself, a staged act of defiance against centuries of tradition. Cameras flashed, the crowd murmured. The king's daughters, bareheaded, stood as symbols of a new era. For Ashraf, the unveiling was more than a political gesture. It was a test of loyalty and a lesson in power. She learned early that change in Iran required both courage and calculation. While her brother was taught to rule, Ashraf watched, listened, and waited for her moment. The palace walls held secrets, resentment, rivalry, and the constant pressure to prove herself in a world that never expected her to matter. But she remembered the lesson of 1936. Sometimes the boldest act is simply refusing to hide. In early July 1953, a British intelligence officer named Norman Derbyshire arrived at a villa on the French Riviera. He did not come empty-handed. Alongside him was a mink coat, a packet of cash, and a promise that could rewrite a nation's future. Ashraf Pahlavi, known for her sharp instincts, listened as Derbyshire explained the plan. Iran's Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh had nationalized the oil fields, angering London and Washington. The Shah, her twin brother, was paralyzed by fear, hesitant to risk his throne or his life on a coup that might collapse before it began. Derbyshire and his team needed a lever. Ashraf was that lever. According to declassified accounts, her resistance faded when the gifts were laid out. She agreed to fly to Tehran. On July 25, 1953, Ashraf landed in the capital and slipped into the palace for a private meeting with the Shah. The conversation that followed remains unrecorded, but the outcome is clear. The Shah signed 2 royal decrees. One dismissed Mossadegh, the other installed General Fazlollah Zahedi as Prime Minister. On August 19, 1953, the streets of Tehran erupted. Mobs funded by the CIA surged through the city, joined by military officers loyal to the crown. Tanks rolled past, burning barricades. By nightfall, Mossadegh was under arrest. Around 300 people had died in the chaos. The Shah, who had briefly fled to Rome, returned to find his power restored. In Langley, officers of the CIA called it their first major success at toppling a foreign government. For Ashraf, the coup was more than a family victory. It was proof that one woman's persuasion could tip the fate of a country. Ashraf Pahlavi's name appeared on the guest lists of world capitals, but her ambition reached further than any ballroom. In 1965, she became chairwoman of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, delivering speeches that called for women everywhere to have access to education, health, and the right to vote. By 1968, she presided over the World Conference on Human Rights in Tehran, a gathering that drew delegates from across continents to debate the future of global equality. Cameras caught her in the spotlight, greeting dignitaries, her words echoing through the halls. The progress of any nation is measured by the progress of its women. At home, her influence shaped the Women's Organization of Iran, pushing for literacy campaigns and new opportunities in professions once closed to women. The government celebrated rising numbers of female teachers and doctors, and Ashraf collected honorary degrees alongside international figures like Coretta Scott King. Yet, beneath the surface, the picture was fractured. While Ashraf's voice rang out at the United Nations, thousands of women languished in Iranian prisons, many detained without trial, their names unknown to the world outside. Reports from 1976 counted more than 4,000 female political prisoners, even as the regime promoted itself as a model of modernity. The contradiction was impossible to ignore. The same regime that sent Ashraf to speak for women's rights abroad kept its own women in silence and fear. By the late 1970s, Ashraf Pahlavi's name was no longer just attached to international conferences or royal decrees. In Paris and Tehran alike, it was whispered in connection with scandal. French newspapers began calling her La Panthère Noire, the Black Panther, a nickname born not from her politics, but from her reputation at the Riviera's most exclusive casinos. Stories of fierce gambling sessions, high-stakes losses, and extravagant displays of wealth filled the columns. The glamorous image that once dazzled diplomats now fueled a different narrative, that of a royal family, out of touch and out of control. The rumors did not stop at the casino doors. Allegations surfaced that Ashraf and her son demanded a 10% cut from companies seeking government licenses back in Iran. These claims, impossible to verify but impossible to ignore, spread through business circles and opposition pamphlets. Then, in 1978, a document surfaced in European investigative files, a Swiss bank transfer for over $700,000, coded and discreet. The press seized on it as proof of hidden fortunes moved offshore while ordinary Iranians faced rising prices and political repression. The accumulation of these stories, some true, some exaggerated, all damaging, turned admiration into suspicion. The same woman who once stood for progress now found herself at the center of a storm. In the eyes of many, Ashraf Pahlavi had become less a champion of rights and more a symbol of royal excess, her every action scrutinized for signs of corruption. Summer on the French Riviera brought no peace. Ashraf Pahlavi's Rolls-Royce crawled through Antibes when the attack came. 14 shots tore into the car, glass shattered. Her lady-in-waiting died instantly, slumped beside her. The chauffeur's shoulder bled as he tried to steer the bullet-riddled car to safety. Ashraf somehow stepped out unharmed. French police arrived to a scene of chaos, a princess untouched, her companion dead. The gunman vanished into the Mediterranean night. Newspapers speculated about assassins, revolutionaries, rival exiles, even agents from Tehran. No one claimed responsibility. The message was unmistakable. The world Ashraf once ruled had turned against her. By the following year, the Shah faced mounting protests in Iran and could no longer ignore the danger his twin sister attracted. He summoned her to the palace for a final private conversation. The order was blunt: leave Iran. Ashraf packed her life into suitcases and left for Paris, forced into exile by the brother whose throne she had once saved. February 1979 swept away everything the Pahlavis had built. The monarchy fell. Ashraf fled to Paris, carrying the weight of exile. Her brother, the Shah, wandered from country to country, dying of cancer in Egypt the next year. But for Ashraf, the deepest wound was still to come. Her son, Shahriar Shafiq, refused to hide. A former naval captain, he slipped out of Iran under gunfire, crossed the Persian Gulf in a small boat, and began organizing a resistance called Iran Azad from Paris. He became a marked man, his name on lists drawn up by the new regime's revolutionary courts. On December 7th, 1979, as dusk settled over Rue Pergolese, a masked gunman waited outside Ashraf's apartment. 2 shots to the head ended Shahriar's life on the sidewalk. French police found little evidence. Responsibility was claimed by Ayatollah Khalkhali's court in Tehran. For Ashraf, the loss was absolute. She never buried her son, keeping his embalmed body in New York a silent refusal to accept that the revolution had taken everything. Today, Iranian women risk prison for unveiling a struggle shaped by decisions made decades ago in secrecy and ambition. The forces unleashed have outlived every dynasty. Power changes hands, but the cost of one choice still echoes in every protest chant. History never truly buries its architects.